Hello again and thanks for joining. Today we've got an old Lima model to look at. This is a Deutsche Bundesbahn Class E410 locomotive. Now the real locomotive was delivered to the Deutsche Bundesbahn between about 1966 to 67 or thereabouts, and Lima was pretty fast off the blocks with making a model of it because this one came out in the late 60s, so we're probably looking about 68, 69 or 70, something like that. It continued production through to the early 70s and then it was kind of discontinued. But what makes this particular model special is that it's got 4 pantographs on the roof, because lots of them actually only had 2 pantographs, and especially the ones sold in the UK. So I'm thinking that this one was sold in Europe at some point. One of the other things you'll notice is a little bit of paint work being done on the roof, and it looks as though those insulators, which are white normally, have been painted red, and the pantographs, which are just, I think, just plain metal, have also been painted red at some point. And it hasn't been done that great because there's some white overspill as well, which might be the undercoat, so I'm not quite sure. So I'm going to do a review of this model and try and get it working because it is quite dirty and very old. But I'm going to look over the fact that the paint on the top is not factory. So let's check this out a bit closer up. So there are many things on this model which is very typical of Lima models of this era, and things like the non-flush fit glazing. The clear plastic isn't that opaque, so you can barely see inside. It doesn't have an interior. The moulding is fairly okay, but the model is pretty crude, and things like this here, the bogie moves around quite a lot. Doesn't move quite so much on the other one though. You can see things like the masking around these silver grills isn't too good at the top there either. But what is quite good is the printing. You can see the Deutsche Bahn, I think that's a transfer. That's quite clear, and also like the AG plate down here as well. And it has some other printing along the side of the locomotive in white, which has been done really well actually. At the front we have buffers, which are separate pieces which have been added into the main body plastic, and we have the coupling hanging out the front, which has been attached to the bogie. Just a simple screw holding it on. There's no articulation other than just with the bogie. So like I said about the painting on the roof of this model, if you can look aside from that, you can see that there is a lot of detail here. We've got the 4 pantographs all present on this model, which is really good. And we have the rest of the electrical gear, which has been painted here, but it is quite extensive. There's a lot of it up there. And we even have this part here in silver as well, which is masked off pretty well. All 4 pantographs on this locomotive still work, and they work pretty good as well. They move up and down very well. So it's not too bad for a model that's made in the 60s. Down here on the chassis, we've got the pickup on this bogie here. So these wheels are free to revolve, and you can see just how dirty this is. So we're going to have to clean up those wheels, I think. There's a nice amount of detail on the bogie though, but we don't have things like brakes in line with the wheels or anything like that. But at least there's a lot of nice deep relief on them. We've got this panel in the middle, which has got some nice details as well. And the other bogie, almost identical, but this is the powered one. So the motor is fixed up on top of here. So it looks as though we pick up from this end and drive this end. But let's have a look inside this model and we'll see what the internals are like. Well, don't you just love how easy it is to take these models apart? Just one absolutely massive screw on the roof, and then the whole body just lifts off and exposes the chassis. So we've got this weight in the middle with this interesting piece of plastic on the top, and we have the motor here, very similar to all Lima models, which is mounted on top of this bogie. It looks as though maybe these wheels have been painted as well, painted black. You can just see a bit of overspill on this one. And we've got traction tyres on this side. And the pickup happens over here. So I think we need to give this a bit of a clean. I'll start off with cleaning the wheels on this bogie, and I'll take this out first. Well, one thing that's interesting on this model is this part is actually made of metal. I thought it was actually plastic when I started, but no, that's actually metal. The other thing is we're going to take these wheels out of here and give them a clean. One important thing to remember is to not move them the wrong way around, because then, you know, the polarity is going to short out. So just be careful when you're taking these out to put them back in the same way.
A few moments later.
Okay, that looks much better now. So I think we'll put these aside and we'll have a look at the motor. So this does have a bit of a strange setup. We've got these washers here, and these don't look like standard bolts either. So I'm wondering whether this has had a bit of a hack job done to it in the past for some reason. So this motor is actually picking up from these wheels, obviously not these ones with the traction tyres. So I need to give these a clean as well. They don't look as bad as the pickup wheels, but you know, they could do with a clean too. And we'll take the motor apart and we'll just have a look and make sure it's not that dirty either. Well, it doesn't look too bad to be honest, but I'm going to give that a clean as well before putting it back together. So it's always very easy to work on these motors. I've got this back together now. So I'm just going to give the gears a little bit of oil and then we'll give it a test. I've just changed those bolts for screws which are holding this on much more securely now. So we're all back together now and it's on the test track as normal. This is my Hornby 3rd radius track and I'm using my H&M controller on 12 volts DC to power this. So let's see what happens. Well, absolutely nothing happened because I put the wheels in the wrong way around on the pickup bogie, and after I just said about it on this video as well. So there you go, easy done. So I'm just going to have to take the bogie back off, switch the wheels around and put it back together. Okay, attempt number 2. Well, it's wanting to go. The motor runs pretty good, but I think there's actually something wrong with this bogie and it might be to do with those screws and washers. So I'm going to investigate that a little bit more. So you can see we've got no problems at all with the bogie sides removed, so it must be something to do with that. Okay, so I think I've concluded that this piece up on top here isn't actually for this model, and it looks as though it's had something cut off here and also at the back here, and therefore the model sits too low down here. You can see it's pressing against the chassis, and if you look at the other side, this coupling is about 5mm off from the chassis. So I think this probably needs a bit of a spacer on the chassis just to lift it up about 5mm, move back and forward on that, and that should stop the bogie from fouling the chassis. So I think I'm actually going to 3D print little blocks to fit into here, and hopefully that will solve the problem. Okay, I've just 3D printed these little parts here, which I intend to stick onto here as little spacers, and hopefully that will work. Okay, we've got the spacers in now and it's back on the test track, so let's give it a go. Well, that's great. My fix actually worked and now it's running really good as well, especially with that service. So let's put it on the scales and we'll see how much it weighs. So this model comes in at 314 grams. So this old model of the E410 electric locomotive from Lima, well, isn't it just an old survivor? It's been around now for what, maybe 55 years or maybe even more. And it's definitely a second-hand model that somebody's had a lot of fun with in the past and done some modifications. And it wasn't running too good to begin with, and it had that problem with the bogies. I still don't know what's happened there. Maybe it's a piece that's gone missing in the past and it's just been botched together. But we've put in those spacers and it's now fixed the problem and the model runs great. But there's still lots to do on this model. We could sort out the paintwork on the roof, for example, and it didn't have lights as I hoped it might do, so it could easily be fitted with lights too. But one of the things I really love about models of this era is that it's been quite an enjoyable process for me to tinker around with this model. And when you consider some of the more modern models, they have been a lot more complicated than this and a lot more fiddly to work on. This is actually quite enjoyable to work on because it's quite simple, and also it didn't cost a lot of money, so if you mess it up it's not really that much of a loss. And talking of cost, how much should you expect to pay for something like this? Well, these models go for around about maybe £30 to maybe £45. This one isn't in great condition because of the roof, however it is one of the more rarer models with the 4 pantographs, so I'd say probably around about £30 or maybe £35 if I'm lucky, because I'm going to put this back onto eBay. It's not really the model for me. I've enjoyed messing around with it and getting it running great, but I've got loads of other models in my collection and I don't need this one. So I'm going to sell it on. You could be the lucky owner of this model, or maybe that's unlucky. But let me know what you think about this model in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts. And if you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really helps this channel. I'm going to put this on the turntable so you can see all the way around, and in a moment another video will appear, so check that one out too. I'll see you there. But thanks for watching this one. I enjoy your company and I'll see you on the next one.
So model trains, model worlds, choo choo, model trains, tiny worlds, choo choo, model trains, model worlds, choo choo, model trains, tiny worlds, choo choo.